October 11th, 1969, San Francisco. It was a Saturday night like any other, until the quiet of Presidio Heights was shattered. At the corner of Washington and Cherry Streets, the city lights seemed softer, almost unable to penetrate the weight of what was about to unfold. Inside a yellow taxi, slumped against the steering wheel, was Paul Stine, a hard-working cab driver just 29 years old. Moments before, he'd picked up a routine fare. Now he was dead, shot once in the head at point-blank range. The scene was eerily methodical. The killer wiped down the vehicle, tore away a piece of Stine's blood-stained shirt, and disappeared into the night. Not a word, not a trace, at least not at first glance. Nearby, children watched from a window, hearts pounding as they witnessed a stranger, coolly walking away from a murder. Police sirens echoed seconds too late. On the dashboard, a fare sheet still fluttered in the breeze. All that remained was a pool of blood and a silent city stunned by its own vulnerability. But this was just the beginning. Days later, San Francisco police and the Chronicle newspaper received an envelope. Inside, a chilling letter, and taped alongside it, a torn scrap of fabric, a fragment of Paul Stine's shirt. The message was clear. The killer was taunting them, proving his identity with the blood-soaked evidence only he could possess. For law enforcement, it was a challenge. For the public, it was pure terror. Who would do this? Was it a robbery gone wrong, or something darker, something orchestrated, ritualistic? If it was just a crime of opportunity, why send the trophy, the letter, the coded threats? And most disturbing of all, what did this man want? This was no ordinary murderer. He wanted attention. He wanted fear. The city would never be the same. As the days stretched on and more letters arrived, a name began to circulate, a name that would haunt Northern California for decades. Zodiac, back in time. The confirmed attacks timeline. To understand the chilling scope of the Zodiac's violence, we must step back, month by month, town by town, tracing a path that cuts across Northern California like a wound refusing to heal. December 20th, 1968. On a lonely stretch of Lake Herman Road near Benicia, the winter air was sharp and still. David Faraday, just 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16. Parked for a quiet evening together, two teenagers, hopeful, unaware that their lives would end before midnight. In a sudden burst of gunfire, both were killed. No suspects, no clear motive, only shell casings and tire tracks left behind, whispering of a predator in the darkness. July 4th, 1969, Blue Rock Springs, Vallejo. Fireworks cracked overhead as young couples sought privacy along the tree-lined parking lot. Darlene Ferrin, 22, outgoing and beloved by many, sat beside Michael Majot, 19. Without warning, a car pulled in. Gunshots shattered the calm. Darlene died at the scene. Michael survived, wounded, confused, and traumatized. He described a man, stocky, silent, face obscured by shadows. Why these victims? Was it random, or did the killer know them? September 27th, 1969, Lake Berryessa, Napa County. An afternoon by the water for Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, both in their early 20s, turned into a nightmare. This time, the attacker was masked, brandishing a knife and binding their hands. He stabbed them mercilessly, then scrawled a message on Brian's car door. Cecilia later died from her wounds. Brian survived, left with scars and the memory of a voice, cold, deliberate, unhurried. October 11th, 1969, Presidio Heights, San Francisco. The murder of Paul Stine. The escalation was clear. The killer, bolder than ever, risked the city's busy streets. He took a trophy, then taunted the police. 4 attacks in under a year. 5 dead. 2 miraculously alive. What linked these victims? Was there a method to this madness? Or was chaos itself the killer's only pattern? For investigators, each date became a scar on the region's memory. And as the Zodiac's taunts continued, one fear remained. Was he just getting started? Letters and ciphers. The Zodiac's coded messages. The violence alone was enough to terrify Northern California. But it was the Zodiac's words, his relentless communication with the press and police, that pushed the case into the realm of legend. Unlike most killers, he didn't just strike and disappear. Instead, he wanted to be known. He demanded to be feared. On July 31, 1969, 3 major newspapers, the San Francisco Chronicle, the Examiner, and the Vallejo Times-Herald, each received a chilling letter. The writer claimed responsibility for the recent murders, but that was just the beginning. Enclosed with each letter was a section of a cryptogram, 408 characters in all. The killer dared the public to break his code, promising that it would reveal who he was and why he killed. "I like killing people," he wrote, his words littered with spelling mistakes and a casual cruelty. The public was gripped with fear. Was this a madman or a mastermind? It took a week before a school teacher and his wife from Salinas cracked the cipher. The solution was a disturbing manifesto, a confession of sorts, but offered no name. Just more questions. If he wanted to be caught, why hide behind ciphers? And if he truly was unstoppable, why write at all? This was only the start. Over the next months and years, more letters arrived, each more taunting, each signed with a crosshair symbol, the killer's personal brand. The so-called dripping pen letter came in November 1969, accompanied by a new cipher, Z340. This time, it would remain unsolved for over 50 years, until a team of codebreakers finally cracked it in December 2020. The message inside was defiant. "I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me." He boasted he wasn't afraid of the gas chamber. The letters grew darker, including bomb threats and diagrams, cryptic cards, and claims of even more victims, 37 in total, though most could never be confirmed. Still, some ciphers, Z13, Z32, remain unbroken. What secrets do they hold? Did the Zodiac hide his real name within those coded lines? Or was it all just another game, played at the public's expense? For investigators, each letter was both a clue and a taunt, a reminder that their adversary wasn't finished, and that somewhere out there, he might still be watching. The investigation and roadblocks, dead ends, suspects, and forensic frustration. The Zodiac case was never just a whodunit. It became a relentless, decades-long battle between law enforcement and an enemy who seemed to thrive on their frustration. From the beginning, police departments across Northern California, Benicia, Vallejo, Napa, San Francisco, joined forces with the FBI, pooling evidence and chasing every lead. But the more they dug, the more elusive their quarry became. There were moments when hope seemed near. In October 1969, Zodiac mailed a piece of Paul Stein's bloody shirt to the Chronicle, proof that the letters were no hoax. Investigators pored over hundreds of tips, composite sketches, handwriting analyses, and voice profiles. Witnesses described a heavy-set man, around 5'8", with dark hair and glasses. Police even canvassed the neighborhood within minutes of the Stein murder. Yet somehow, the killer vanished into the city's shadows, just another face in the crowd. In the 1970s and beyond, suspects emerged. Arthur Lee Allen, a Vallejo resident with a troubled past, became the prime focus for years. His alibi was shaky. Friends whispered of his fascination with codes and violence, but hard evidence proved stubbornly absent. Later, DNA testing in 2002 compared his genetic material to saliva from Zodiac stamps, no match. For every promising lead, another dead end. Decades passed. Forensic technology advanced. In 2018, Vallejo police sent Zodiac's envelopes and stamps for state-of-the-art genealogical DNA analysis, hoping to identify a suspect as in other cold cases. But the results were inconclusive. The Chronicle reported, no breakthrough. The files remained open, and the frustration only deepened. New names surfaced. Gary Francis Post, identified by an independent team called the Case Breakers in 2021. But the FBI and local authorities issued a careful statement. The case is still open, and Zodiac's true identity remains unconfirmed. Was Zodiac one man or a myth built from many? Did he simply vanish or blend back into society, never to be caught? The only thing investigators could agree on was this. The Zodiac wasn't just a murderer. He was a manipulator, a ghost haunting the limits of forensic science and human patience. The case became a symbol of how evil sometimes escapes justice, leaving only questions, pain, and the chilling possibility that the killer's laughter still echoes somewhere, just out of reach. The aftermath, an enduring mystery, unanswered questions, and lasting impact. More than half a century has passed since the Zodiac first haunted the pages of Bay Area newspapers, yet his shadow lingers, undiminished by time. Officially, the case remains open. FBI, San Francisco police, and departments from Napa to Riverside all maintain files, hoping for the breakthrough that has eluded generations of investigators. But with every passing year, the hope dims a little more. For the families of victims like Betty Lou Jensen, David Faraday, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein, closure has proved heartbreakingly elusive. Each new rumor, every purported suspect, reopens old wounds. Even the survivors, Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell, carry scars both visible and hidden, haunted by the randomness and brutality of those nights. The Zodiac's true toll, after all, can never be measured in numbers alone. In popular culture, the Zodiac became an enduring specter, a source of endless fascination and fear. His cryptic letters, bizarre ciphers, and mocking tone set him apart from other serial killers, feeding books, films, and conspiracy theories for decades. Yet the real horror lies not in the legend, but in the facts. Lives shattered, communities gripped by terror, and a killer who taunted justice itself. Investigators, despite all advances in DNA technology and forensic science, still face a wall of silence. Some ciphers, Z13, Z32, remain unsolved. The letters, preserved in the FBI's vault, are studied by new generations of codebreakers and amateur sleuths, each hoping for the clue everyone else missed. Did Zodiac hide his name in those unsolved codes? Or did he, as some now believe, simply vanish into anonymity, another monster disguised as a neighbor, a colleague, a stranger on the bus? In the end, the Zodiac case stands as a reminder of both evil's capacity for chaos and justice's limits. The cruelty was calculated, the fear widespread, and the pain ongoing. If there is any lesson to draw, perhaps it's this. In a world obsessed with certainty, sometimes the most haunting mysteries are the ones that refuse to be solved. Reflection and lessons, what the Zodiac case teaches us. Looking back, the Zodiac case is more than a collection of unsolved crimes. It is a profound reflection on the complexities of evil and the enduring limitations of justice. Decades after the last taunting letter was delivered, questions still linger, unanswered, and perhaps unanswerable. Why did he kill? How did he vanish so completely? Was he one man, or the creation of collective paranoia, fueled by fear and the unknown? For investigators, the Zodiac case became both a cautionary tale and an obsession. The limitations of the 1960s and 1970s, fragmented jurisdictions, primitive forensics, the absence of digital databases, left cracks wide enough for a clever predator to slip through. Even as technology advanced, the case seemed to stay just out of reach, a constant reminder that sometimes, even the most determined pursuit can end in frustration. Yet it is also a testament to the dogged perseverance of law enforcement, journalists, and the families who refuse to let the victims' stories be forgotten. To the public, the Zodiac stands as a haunting archetype, the faceless killer who could be anyone, the cipher writer who turned violence into a puzzle, a myth woven into the fabric of American fear. But in the focus on codes and mysteries, we risk losing sight of the real cost. The lives ended too soon, the trauma that lingers in those left behind. The allure of the unknown should never overshadow the humanity of the victims. If there is a lesson in this tragedy, it is the reminder of our collective vulnerability. Evil can wear any face, slip through any crack, and sometimes escape the justice it deserves. But perhaps what matters most is the refusal to forget, to keep searching, questioning, and honoring those who suffered. The Zodiac's case remains unsolved, a testament to the unpredictable nature of both crime and investigation. But the persistence of memory, compassion, and truth-seeking, these endure long after the headlines have faded. This case, in all its brutality and enigma, ultimately reminds us, while justice is sometimes denied, remembrance and empathy are choices we must make, time and again. Epilogue: The unending shadow of the Zodiac. Even now, the shadow of the Zodiac looms over Northern California, a chilling reminder that some stories never find their final page. Each new decade brings fresh speculation, novel suspects, and a steady stream of documentaries, books, and internet forums, all searching for the missing piece that might finally reveal the face behind the infamous symbol. Yet, for every theory, there are contradictions. For every suspect, an alibi or a lack of proof. The files remain open, dusty but not forgotten, in police precincts from San Francisco to Riverside. Occasionally, a new DNA technique will spark hope, sending old evidence back into the lab, chasing a breakthrough that always seems just out of reach. In 2020, the long unsolved Z340 cipher was finally cracked, but instead of closure, it offered only more taunts, more riddles. The killer's words echoed through time, "I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me." The arrogance, the detachment, the absolute refusal to grant peace. These traits have come to define not just the Zodiac, but the nature of the case itself. For the families, every anniversary brings pain and remembrance. For the communities, the case lingers as a dark fable, a cautionary tale whispered to new generations. The Zodiac has become both a real monster and a metaphor for uncertainty, a symbol of what we cannot control or understand. The lack of resolution is, in itself, part of the horror. What if the answers never come? What if the world simply learns to live with the questions? Time has changed the landscape, but the wounds remain. The scenes, Lake Herman Road, Blue Rock Springs, Lake Berryessa, Presidio Heights, are ordinary places haunted by extraordinary violence. Each one stands as a silent memorial to lives interrupted, stories left unfinished. The Zodiac's cruelty was not just in the killings, but in the questions he left behind. As the case drifts further into history, we are left with uncomfortable truths. Some mysteries are destined to remain unsolved. Some evils leave scars that no passage of time can erase. In the end, the Zodiac's legacy is not just a puzzle, but a warning, a reminder of how darkness can hide in plain sight, and how even the brightest minds, the most tireless investigators, may never find all the answers. Yet, perhaps the most important legacy is this. In the face of uncertainty and fear, the commitment to remember, to seek justice, and to honor the victims endures. The shadow of the Zodiac may stretch on, but it cannot extinguish the human need for truth and remembrance. If this story left you with questions, or if you're drawn to mysteries that still defy answers, don't forget to like and follow our channel, because the next unsolved case might be even closer than you think.